We're stuck in a rainstorm with a surrogate Black Widow. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Becks Perfect, and this is Offscreen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Welcome to Offscreen. Another week, another big lot of movie releases for you. And Van and I, as ever, are super excited. In fact, do you know what? At time of recording, both Van and myself have walked straight out of the big film of the week and straight onto this podcast. So we're going to hold you in suspense a little bit, but I'm pretty sure you can guess what it is.
Probably, yeah.
But let's kick off this week with a movie that both of us have caught this week. It's called The Surrogate, which is out on theatrical. It is the story of three people, a gay couple.
It's a gay married couple, and one of them's best friends. I thought they were all friends to begin with. It's only she's friends with, I think, Chris Peretti's character.
Yes, and she is also playing their surrogate. And everything is very exciting, going swimmingly, until they get the news that it looks like the unborn child is going to potentially have Down syndrome.
So, are you guys going to go to that community center that Nadine mentioned?
I don't know. We haven't really talked about it yet.
I knew somebody with Down syndrome growing up, so
you did?
I don't really. Yeah, my friend Kelsey's brother.
Oh.
Well, aren't you curious to get a sense of the community here?
Yeah, we just have to find out when they're open.
Oh, it's every afternoon except Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
That's that point in the movie as well, at which you can tell sort of which way, from their reactions to things, the story is going to go. I thought this was quite a sharp, very talky, very astute. Like it was quite thoughtful, an indie drama. I think that the undisputed star of this, if it's not Jasmine Batchelor as Jess, as the lead character, this is her first film as well.
Oh, is it?
A couple of small TV roles. I think this is a couple like NCIS guest spot kind of things.
Oh.
But this is her first movie. But it's the dynamic between her as the performer and Jeremy Hirsch as the writer-director, I think, is incredible. I think the two supporting cast, they're not slacking on the supporting cast either. Chris Perfetti is his name, sorry.
Perfetti, yeah.
And you've got Sullivan Jones. And Sullivan Jones is the one who is not her friend, who's very robotic. He's got kind of a robotic monitor.
Well, he's kind of in the wings a little bit on this whole thing. Like, you'd want it
Not
to be
quite
the
as
trio.
great.
No.
Yeah.
And what I liked about Jasmine Batchelor's role as Jess is she's kind of, obviously this news is heartbreaking to Josh and Aaron, the couple in this scenario. Yeah. And she tries to find the positive in it, which I think is the role of a best friend, is to find that positivity. I enjoyed this movie to a point. I don't think it's going to set the world on fire. I think it's...
It won't. No. It absolutely won't. But I do think this is the kind of thing that on Sky Cinema in particular could find a decent water cooler audience.
Yes.
Because I think it is a film that you would talk about with your mates. You would be down the pub saying, I watched this really interesting drama last night about this surrogate movie. It is that, because it does get you thinking. We did it in the car the day after watching it. We had the conversation, about this movie, because it sticks with you, which I think is the sign of something at least pretty good.
I think it's I think the thing is as well, to go into this, and we were just chatting about this off air, is it's almost like a fly on the wall, hipster, almost touching on documentary kind of feel to it. You're just involved in their lives. Nothing overly cinematic happens. You're just observing, which might grate on some people.
Do you know what? On that note, you've just touched on something quite brilliant there in describing it in that way, because the film is very engrossing in its drama. So much so that I don't know if you noticed, the film has no music.
Oh no, I didn't
specifically.
notice.
There's no score, there's no soundtrack, nothing. It is stark silence. That is it. The film's audio track is entirely dialogue based, and you don't notice this.
No.
Which is fascinating. I watched the whole thing. It's only about 85 minutes.
Hour and a half, pretty much.
Yeah, and I didn't realise this until I was reading through some production notes afterwards. I was like, oh my God, okay, fascinating. That's the sign of something that works. They say the sign of good editing is you don't notice the editing.
Yeah.
You don't even notice that there is no score there because you are so brought into the atmosphere of it. I thought it was great.
I don't know. I mean, now that you say it, I don't know if I like that or not, now that I think about it. Right? I'm a bit confused. You've messed up my experience.
That's it. That's it. But you're thinking about it. And that's the point,
Yes.
isn't it? Because it
Yes.
sticks with you. It's something you can still mull over and you can still think about and you can still just ponder upon. And on top of just being a really good drama. I thought just a really solid drama. And I think for Jeremy Hirsch in particular, a really great calling card what he's capable of. I think this is
absolutely.
really something for him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's a solid drama. I think if you can get over the kind of hipster vibe of it, you'll be able to watch it in its entirety.
Lot of old wooden floors in this one. Lot of old wooden floors.
Yeah, it's not going to be
Edison
for
bulbs, far as I can see.
But yeah, overall, a solid film and a great kind of filmic debut from Jasmine Batchelor as well. Really, really good.
Definitely. Yeah, she did. I can't believe that's a debut performance. Did not feel it at all, did it?
No, not at all. I thought it was it's really solid. You surprised me to tell me that information. So, yeah, really good. So a good solid start to the movies this week. Moving swiftly on, we've got Occupation Rainfall. I'm not going to lie, I've got no idea what's coming at me with this one, so you better explain it.
It's a title that has so much potential going for it, doesn't it? Like, what could this possibly be about? Occupation Rainfall? Well, it's actually Occupation : Rainfall. It's the sequel to a more or less completely ignored and forgotten 2018 Australian sci-fi movie called Occupation. So it's Occupation Part 2, Rainfall, effectively. And now the original took the form of a sort of Red Dawn with aliens in Australia. The thing is that Australia has its own Red Dawn. It's called Tomorrow When the War Began, and it's great. That movie is great. I don't care what anyone says. I wish they'd gone ahead with the franchise, but we got a crappy TV show out of it instead that wasn't half as good. But anyway, so this is effectively Tomorrow When the War Began with aliens. That's the franchise. This is now the sequel. It's years later. You know, the military's been beaten into submission. They're on their last legs. There's murmurs of a code word. Rainfall filtering through the war, the underground intelligence circuit. And this ties into knowledge that an alien defector has of a project known as Rainfall, and the signs that they find of a specific kind of alien who represent a sort of high guard caste system. And a covert op is launched, a last-ditch effort to save the war by launching a two-man expedition to retrieve the MacGuffin that will control the flibbity blobs that will fire off the bloobity bleed beam, and here you go.
This is Project Rainfall.
Here we go!
What are they doing?
Preparing for war.
I'm gonna make sure you complete your mission.
What else you got?
Big copy fighters.
Fall back! Oh! Call him as you see him.
Yeah, I'm still none the wiser.
It does kind of feels a bit like. Did you have the pleasure of watching Skylines recently? It's like Skyline 3.
No, the fact that you say Skyline 3 as well.
Yeah, this is better than Skylines / Skyline 3 or Skyline 3s was, depending on how you title it. This is a lot better than that was. It does seem to be about as cheap a movie. It is a cheap, to the extent of like Sci-Fi Channel budget movie. However, unlike Skylines, which looked like it was made for the Sci-Fi Channel in terms of its production value, this is incredibly well put together. Ooh. Like, this is the best produced direct-to-DVD movie you've ever seen, right? There are going to be VFX artists poring over this thing for years because they've gotten away. There's so much. It's fascinating as an exercise in filmmaking. So Luke Spark, not really a known commodity outside of these movies and a couple of other low-key supernatural horror sci-fi kind of things. There's not really a name cast to this. There's a couple of they've got a couple of names to do like one scene. So like Ken Jeong, for instance, has a couple of scenes. Jason Isaacs contributes sort of voiceover for it. Tamara Morrison, who was in the first one as well, has a couple of sequences here and there. It's not really a movie with recognizable faces. There's a lot of reliance on computer-generated imagery, but it's incredibly well done computer-generated imagery. There's a lot of visual trickery and a lot of production jiggery-pokery, we shall say, being employed here that makes this look tremendously expensive. Do you remember that Russian sci-fi alien invasion movie a few years ago, about 2016, 2017? I'm not sure if you watched. Johnny Earn and I did.
Yeah.
And it was something that they'd made for 5 million quid. The Russians had made this for £5 million. They showed us a pop video for the movie beforehand. I forget what it was called. I'll have to look this up.
No,
But the actual
I have not
PR
seen
guy-
this, but I want to.
The PR guy came into the screening at Soho Screening Rooms and talked to us critics and unveiled the theme song's music video to us. And it was complete crap. It was like Imagine Dragons type thing.
Yeah.
But it was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. This is insane.
It sounds like he should have given you a shot of vodka as well in the lead up to it.
He didn't need to. The movie was great enough. But we came away from that movie saying, like, it's amazing what these Russian production houses have come up with for £5 million. This looks better than Independence Day Resurgence, which was new at the time. And this is something, again, that looks better than Independence Day Resurgence, that's clearly been made for maybe, like, let's conservatively say $3 million.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it looks like, it doesn't feel the parts. Crap movie, but fascinating work of filmmaking. Absolutely fascinating work of filmmaking. If you've ever been interested in the craft of filmmaking, absolutely watch this movie. If, however, you're interested in being entertained or observing any exercise in narrative cinema, don't watch this.
Fair enough. So any of you auteurs that are out there, this is one for you. And for the rest of you, stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll have the big one for you. Welcome back to Offscreen. So we've brought you 2 big movies this week, but nothing is bigger than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Or maybe there is something bigger out there. I don't know, but Van certainly doesn't think so.
She's like 5 foot, I think. She's like 5'1", maybe. I feel like Scarlett Johansson would be about 5'1" somehow.
She does look tiny.
I have no idea.
I think she is tiny, and I think Florence Pugh is equally tiny. So two little Black Widows ready and waiting.
They're queuing us up nicely, of course. So Black Widow, which is about a year and a half overdue, I want to say. This was, no, not a year and a half, about a year and 1 month, I think. So maybe 13, 14 months. Obviously delayed due to COVID. It was one of the biggies. It's out today on Disney Plus as premiere access, it has to be stressed. So £20 uplift in the UK. I think it's $29.99 in the US. It's also available in cinemas, which is obviously where most people, I think, are going to watch this. Although Marvel is increasingly of late finding a home for itself on Disney Plus with its MCU TV shows. We've had WandaVision, we've had Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which does have a tie-in to this. Is worth pointing out. No spoilers, but there is a direct tie-in. And Loki, which I watched the most recent episode this week, and that is so good. I think there's one left. I'm absolutely in love with that show. But this is director Kate Shortland stepping up to the MCU plate, and I think Lucretia Martel was offered this and turned it down. The famous story where Marvel told her, "You don't need to know how to direct action. We have guys for that. It's fine. We have people that do that. You just need to direct the film." And tried to sort of besmirch the name of this great big cinematic engine, which is now brought to life in. Is this the 25th? I want to say 25th Marvel movie.
Wow. Okay.
It is. It's around there. It is in the mid-20s by now.
Blimey.
I know that much.
When is it? Like, since 2010, right?
2008.
2008.
I think it was May 1st, 2008, I think, was Iron Man in the UK.
Blimey. Oh, actually, 2010 is when we first saw Black Widow, I think.
Yes, 2010 was Black Widow's introduction in Iron Man 2.
Marvel knowledge.
I'd rather forget the movie, if I'm honest, Iron Man 2, but I'll take the Black Widow memory. Although, when you start to look back on that now, wow, is that problematic? Anyway, beside the point. So this is set after the events of Civil War, like literally hours after the end of Civil War, because there's obviously a time jump between Captain America, Falcon, and those characters who became fugitives in that movie, and their reintroduction in Avengers Infinity War. So there's a space of a couple of years, and that's when this movie takes place, and also really serves primarily as an origin story for an important new piece of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that awful blonde dye job that Scarlett Johansson has in Infinity War and the weird haircut. I'm kidding. There are other things they're introducing. So, on the run, the Black Widow returns to her former stomping grounds in Budapest, which you have heard mentioned.
Or Budapest.
Budapest, as we're told, yeah. This is it. She sent a package out of the blue that leads her to basically retrace her steps on her former stomping grounds in Budapest. Finds herself being drawn back into the world of the Black Widow program, the espionage program run out of the former Soviet Union that created her to begin with. It's going to reunite her with her estranged family. It's going to put her on square into the crosshairs of not only an old enemy but a mysterious and deadly new one as well. It's It's going to keep her in the crosshairs of the US government, who is tracking her down simultaneously in all of this, and it might just help her find her place in the world. But before then, here's a car chase.
Okay, you got a plan, or shall I just stay duck and cover?
My plan was to drive us away.
Well, your plan sucks.
You know what? I like Natasha Romanoff. I like Black Widow, and I like this film. I like her because she's an Avenger that hasn't got superpowers. She's just really skilled. And I think that's really appealing to watch from like a female perspective. I think she's quite a good character to have on screen. And this is a very female-led movie. This is her and Florence Pugh, who is her estranged sister, who reconnects pretty quickly in this movie, and it kind of
reconnects fist to face. I think.
Yeah. I mean, there was quite the fight scene that kind of introduces the pair of them to each other, or reintroduces them to each other. It was pretty impressive.
You got to give it to her. Actually, we knew from fighting with my family that Florence Pugh could handle the actual the fight mechanics of something like wrestling, but seeing her do the Black Widow stuff she's actually really impressive.
Yeah, and again, you know how much I love Florence Pugh. She's proving herself to be an indie darling, a mega Marvel babe. You know, she can kind of do it all. There's loads that's going on with Florence Pugh, an Oscar contender. You know, it's amazing.
You can argue that she is following the template of Scarlett Johansson in that way, in being the sort of indie darling who does cross over to big Hollywood movies. That kind of is the Scarlett Johansson model, isn't it?
Yeah, and the chemistry between them is fantastic. I really loved
highlight.
Yeah, absolute highlight. And I really loved David Harbour in this movie as well.
That's it, isn't it?
He has to bring the laughs, right? Because Marvel, the thing that Marvel does really well that I always think DC falters on is that DC's so brooding and, you know, it doesn't quite hit the notes very well. And normally Marvel's got some real slapstick style laugh out loud moments. This not so much, but when it does drop it in, it comes from David Harbour, and the occasional moment from Florence Pugh as well, but mostly from David Harbour.
I do think what you've touched on there is the family dynamic is the real selling point of Black Widow. Now, I just want to say, before I get to it, just want to say, the film on a whole, like me as the dyed-in-the-wool Marvel guy, I didn't love the film. For me, it sits it's kind of like on that Captain Marvel level for me, where it's like, this is fine for sort of just below the middle of the spectrum, but other than that, I don't particularly feel like I'm seeing anything I haven't already seen. And in particular, because this takes place within the human side of the MCU, which is to say, there are sort of superpowers, but they're kind of man-made powers. You know what I mean? They're like super soldier serums and things like that. It's not really like Thor and Hulk and things like that.
I just think her ability to not have vertigo. She does a lot of things high up. I think that's the main.
I think Scarlett Johansson's true. Black Widow's real superpower will always be her ability to instantaneously lose her Russian accent. You know, that's what it is. And apparently, you know, I think Florence Pugh picks it up here and there as well. It's worth pointing out. But I think outside of that sort of the ordinary side of this, because a lot of it is sort of repeated material from, for instance, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which a lot of Marvel fans have watched. If you've watched that, you've seen, and even if you haven't, it's been done in the movies because that tends to be what the Captain America movies are for, or the Ant-Man movies in particular as well, which again, a little bit more science fiction, but still human-ish. What makes this work, though, are the character moments. It's not an especially well-directed movie, it's not an especially action-packed or thrilling movie, but it's a very likable movie in those character moments, and it is creating that sitcom archetype of Natasha as the central figure. You've then got a sort of John Goodman-ish dad figure. You've got a sort of, the smart mum figure in Rachel Weisz, and then you've got the sort of bratty teen sister. You've got your Dawn Summers in Florence Pugh, and that works. That's the film's selling point. When it's the family, or even just Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson, this movie can't be beaten. The problem is, there's not enough of that for me, but at the same time, it's not like it's being overtaken by action either, because there's only really like 3 big action beats in this, I think.
Yeah, and do you know what? They're welcome. When they come in, they're very welcome, and you kind of go, "Oh, I needed this." But do you know what? This is that lack of continuous action is actually what is going to be its plus point when it's on streaming, because you're not going to feel like you're going to be like, I need to see it on the big screen because of all the action.
That's another problem, I think, working against it. And I think the unfortunate nature of COVID delays, because obviously this can't be helped, obviously, but I think that is going to hinder it as far as expectations go. If this had opened a year or so ago, I think it will be received better by fans than it would be right now, particularly after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because it's quite well documented because of one specific character that this has to be set before Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like years before Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And because that series exists and has shown us certain things, and again, that series takes place in the human. Yeah, this and that show as well took place in the human part of the MCU, like this does. And again, you've kind of seen it done better, but this feels very, very in line with that as far as we'd watch this on streaming. I feel like if you chop this down to a 3-part Disney Plus series, it would have worked exactly as well.
Yeah. But you know what? For someone who isn't an aficionado in the world of Marvel, I would say I enjoyed this much more than Captain Marvel. So it sits above that for me. I think you're right. The family dynamic in it works a treat. They've got the right little dose of humour, just enough action to keep you entertained, and a story that you can easily follow, which I've said this before, sometimes with the big, ensemble Avengers movies, I don't know who's doing what at what point. This is a very simple linear storyline to follow, and for me that really works. So yeah, it's a very it's a comfortable, a very competent Marvel movie.
That was the thing as well for me, taking it outside of the Marvel equation, just taking it as a female-led spy thriller action movie. Didn't think you're not as rough as Atomic Blonde. You're too silly to be Red Sparrow. You're not as cool or as intriguing as Alias or anything in the J.J. Abrams canon, and you're not as slick as, for instance, the female-driven parts of the Mission Impossible franchise. I did think it does feel like if this had come out when it was actually set, which is in 2016, it would have bypassed a lot of much better female-driven spy fodder. It just feels like really weak. I mean, particularly because there's no sense of weight or gravity to it. Like she's flipping off buildings and things, and landing on her tiptoes. I think we laughed in the screening at one point when she literally fell off a building and kept smacking off air vents, and then literally gets up holding her side like she's just like knocked herself on the coffee table. And you're like, oh, come on! I know it's Marvel, but come on.
Yeah.
I mean, Rhodey's paralyzed, but we understand he has to have the apparatus to walk around. There are human consequences to this. Let's not get silly now.
Yeah, fair enough. But guys, go see it, go watch it, make up your own mind. And we, of course, as ever, we'd love to know what you think.
Welcome back to Offscreen, and we're going to keep you on the couch now for some cinematic fun on telly. So, looking at movies on Freeview for the next 7 days, Miss Perfect, shall we start? Well, let's start tomorrow on Saturday the 10th of July with Jumanji on Channel 5 at 3:20. It's the original, and could you say the best? Is it the original? Do you think?
Yeah, for kids of our age, I think it is. Like, this is the movie where you kind of go, ooh, I'd like to try Jumanji. Imagine what happens if we actually buy the board game, which obviously the studios are going to bring out as part of their marketing. Could we be transported and find Robin Williams and Kirsten Dunst in a whole other world? You know what? For me, I really love this movie. I love it, and I do love what they've done with the reboot. I think they've done the reboot really well. It's revisited, pays homage to it, but nothing beats the original, does it?
That's the thing, though. I mean, obviously the new movies work because they are, reboot calls, not remakes. And that was the thing. No one wanted Jumanji remaking. It's sacred to too many of us. So, don't hands off our Jumanji.
Yeah.
Belongs to the Robin Williams estate as far as we're concerned. But thankfully, Dwayne Johnson is a kind and dutiful caretaker. So, the first movie in which Robin Williams stars as Alan Parrish, the bullied, put upon son of the sort of town rich guy, really, owns the local shoe factory, plays the video game of the title with the girl he has a crush on, junior high, who just can't make the move on, and then he gets sucked into the board game where he's stuck for 3 decades until his house is, passed away and sold on, and he's sold to a new to town realtor played by Bebe Neuwirth and her niece and nephew, recently orphaned kids, played by Kirsten Dunst, and I forget the little boy's name, but they find the game, unearth all of the horrors locked within, and along with returning Alan Parrish to the real world, well, they bring the board game along with it. It's a hoot and a holler. It's from the director of Captain America, isn't it? Joe Johnson doing the Rocketeer.
Oh, yes. One of my favourite films, Rocketeer. Look, guys, you know how much you love Jumanji. You know how much we love Jumanji. I mean, there's not much more we can say about it. It's on Channel 5. It's on perfect timing on a Saturday, 3:30 in the afternoon. So if you have little ones in tow that are old enough to watch something like this without getting too scared, introduce them to it. It's a great opportunity. I
think Jumanji's pretty good on the scare scale, because it is a PG.
Yeah.
It's because obviously I've had to deal with ratings a lot this week, but I think as far as PGs go, this is a pretty good soft level one. But on then to one that I think was a 12A actually, Sunday the 11th on Channel 5, 8 p.m. This is a lovely twee little film to wind down your weekend with, ain't it, Vex?
This is one for the grey pound, but also for us who just enjoy a lovely, as you say, twee film. This is The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. It's on Channel 5 at 8 p.m. on Sunday. A perfect Sunday movie for you. It follows a number of British retirees who you will recognise because they're all stalwart British actors. Yeah. And they all travel to India to take up residence in what they believe is going to be a newly restored hotel. However, when they get there, they realise it's less luxurious than it was advertised. But in its own way, it still manages to charm them, which is what I love.
Is it Dev Patel who runs the hotel? It is Dev Patel, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like this one. I actually didn't mind the sequel either. And I think somewhere on the schedule, I think it might be the following night, it might be on Monday night, I think somewhere on telly is the second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. So you can watch both this week.
Yeah, and I have to say, for a sequel and a follow-up, it's equally as charming. I mean, look, the first one, you've got Judi Dench, you've got Tom Wilkinson, you've got Bill Nighy, Penelope Wilton, Maggie Smith in this. I mean, God, it's... of course, Dev Patel somewhere in this, I'm pretty sure. He is in the... he is. He's Sonny Kapoor in this, of course.
Yeah, and he's in the sequel. And in the sequel, you get the added sexiness of Colin Firth coming in there. Oh, he's the young stud on the scene in the sequel, middle-aged Colin Firth. Anyway, speaking of young studs, let's talk about Eminem's cinematic debut for Monday night, ITV4, 11:10. This is one that's, it's a bit rebellious. You should go to bed, but I'll watch 5 minutes of 8 Mile. Next thing you know, it's near 1 o'clock in the morning. You're getting to that point, would Lose Yourself's about to get performed. You think, I can't possibly sleep before I hear about Mom's Spaghetti. And the whole night's gone. But you know what? At least it was gone for a movie that did win the Academy Award for Best Original Song. How much do you like 8 Mile?
I love it. I really love it.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, and it kind of, for me, it harks me back to... I had really fun times with my old housemate at uni. Like every time his girlfriend would come and visit, they'd go and sit in their room and watch. No, I wish. They'd go and sit in their room and watch 8 Mile and not share it with any of us. We were like, what are you doing? But yeah, this is a really fun movie that, fun in the respect that I have fun memories. It's not that fun a movie. It's do you know what? It's like, it's a one-hit wonder for old Eminem, though. Like, he was so good in this. Why did he stop?
There was low-key awards chatter around him when the movie was sort of pressuring, because I think critics in particular were blown away because nobody expected anything acting-wise from, Slim Shady. Nobody expected the thing. And then the movie, when it started to get screened at festivals and things like that, started getting comparisons to Rocky. People said, like the best side of Rocky. And you're like, okay, interesting. In fact, the only film I can think of in recent years that's compared to 8 Mile in terms of the buzz it garnered is also another musical one that came out of festivals in the last few years, and that was Bradley Cooper's A Star Is Born.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, the buzz around them was very, very similar, actually. Yeah. But anyway, 8 Mile... worth checking out. But on to a movie I know was a decent hit, did get some awards love, deservedly so, and still ranks as, I think, the best thing ever shot and shown in 3D and the best thing ever put on an IMAX screen. Tuesday night, BBC One, 8:35. Bex, tell us about Gravity.
Well, Gravity, I'm a bit nervous that we've put this on our list because I want you to have the best impact with it, and having it on a small screen doesn't always work because I completely agree with Van. This is your worst nightmare being played out on the screen. So you are lost in space, but literally you are somersaulting away in space and thinking, I ain't going to come back from this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And that is the problem that Sandra Bullock faces.
Houston in the blind to confirm. Mission Specialist Dr. Stone and Mission Commander Matthew Kowalski are the sole survivors of the STS-157.
I apologize for not complying. I should have stopped working as soon as he instructed me to.
We were gonna get hit no matter what. There's nothing you could do to change that. Hey.
Yes.
All right. We have to make our way to the space station. Over there. It's a bit of a hike. We need to use their escape pod, the Soyuz, to get back to Earth.
I love this one. I mean, anything with Clooney in anyway. But so on to because we've already mentioned Rocky once this conversation. So let's go to Paramount. Let's go to the Paramount Network, 9 p.m. on Wednesday night. You're a Creed fan, aren't you?
100%, because I was actually really worried when this first came out, because I was like, oh, what are they going to do with the Rocky franchise? And it always is a worry of such a loved franchise. Yeah. And they nailed it. Michael B. Jordan, they did. You know, like bringing it back. You know, it spawned its own kind of, you know, universe in itself, and it's fantastic.
This was Ryan Coogler, wasn't it? This was his last film before Black Panther.
Yeah.
I think, because obviously that's why Michael B. Jordan starts on Fruitvale Station with him, moves across to Creed, and then goes with him to Black Panther as well. So, tell you what, knowing Ryan Coogler has been very good for Michael B. Jordan's career.
Yeah.
But Creed, which I'll make an argument that the sequel could potentially be even better, in my opinion. But one movie for which the sequels are certainly not better, but they are more amusingly titled, is Darkman, which is on Thursday night, the 15th of July at 9 p.m. on Great Movies. You and I have talked about this one before, Bex. This is the one Sam Raimi made when he couldn't get the rights to, I think it was The Shadow or Batman.
Yes, and I'm looking at it now. He just
invented his own, and he's Dr. Peyton Westlake, played by Liam Neeson. The love interest is Frances McDormand, and she's about 25 in this as well.
Wow.
So it's really strange seeing like a sort of, you know, young, almost college-age Frances McDormand. And he is the scientist who's, I think he's attempting to regenerate human skin. He's like trying to create artificial skin for like skin grafts and things. Gets blown up in a warehouse explosion by an evil gangster named Durant, played by Larry Drake, I think. And he's now disfigured, but he has the ability, using his artificial skin, to impersonate anybody. But of course, he has a sensitivity to light. He also has superhuman strength because all of his nerves were fried. Don't know how that works, but comic book logic. It's a good movie. It's pretty fun. Liam Neeson's quite good in it. Very melodramatic, very Hammer horror.
Yeah. I've just been looking at the photos of it, and I've just firstly, I was like, I want to see a young Frances McDormand as a romantic lead, a love interest in this, but also, oh my goodness, the makeup in this is it's quite something. So if you're
Sam Raimi, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're a big fan of practical effects and seeing what they do with this, with like prosthetics and stuff, this is the movie to go and watch on a Thursday night. So that's on Great Movies at 9 o'clock on Thursday, which is just fantastic. Now, finishing off the week on Friday is I quite like this film. It's on BBC One at 10:35 p.m. It's A Simple Favour, which stars Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick. And I didn't watch this until a long time after it came out, and there was a lot of kind of sort of buddiness between the two actresses as they were promoting this, and it was all quite mysterious and stuff. And I thought, you know what? It was quite a fun little movie. Do you want to take us through the synopsis of this?
Yes, this stars Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively are two very, very different mothers. So Anna Kendrick is more the homely one, presents a sort of mom's YouTube cookery kind of show.
Yeah.
And Blake Lively is more the high-flying tycoon career woman. And she's also kind of mysterious and a little weird and edgy and cool at the same time. And she asks Anna Kendrick, I would keep going to say Anna Faris. Very different movie if it's Anna Faris. She asks a simple favor, look after the kid. She then disappears. So Blake Lively then vanishes. Anna Kendrick's got the kid. Blake Lively's husband, played by who else but the hunkiness that is Henry Golding, then launches this quest to try and find out what happened to his wife, Anna Kendrick, in tow.
It's got a bit Gone Girl.
All a bit Gone Girl, but the more they discover about her disappearance, the more they discover about her, and the more they discover about her, the less it turns out they know about her.
Your drink? I need a martini.
Yeah, I like martinis. I haven't had one in a long time. They're good, though. I had one that was, like, mostly chocolate, and I was like, alcohol and chocolate. Mom life.
Oh, okay. No play date. Come on, kid, let's go.
Then I'm staying here.
I think I could use some backup.
That's me? I'm backup?
Does your kid drink, maybe? I mean, it's never too early to start teaching him.
I think you're joking, but great.
There is this kind of like post-Gossip Girl, Serena van der Woodsen kind of feel with Blake Lively in this. And Anna Kendrick is, as ever, trying to be the cool girl, but she's kind of like quirky and different. And I just think it works really well. So it's a good, solid movie.
I think because you and I love a sexy psycho thriller from the 90s, kind of thing. As far as a contemporary update on that goes, this is a pretty good one. And to be fair, having Paul Feig directing it, who traditionally does comedies, and I think this was his first one post Ghostbusters, it does suggest that he is looking to do something like that, because I don't think he would do this straight-faced. I think he's doing this to make that point. I think he's doing this to do something subversive. And I think it's got enough bite to pull that off, to earn that distinction. So I do think it is quite good. Definitely worth checking out on a Friday night, and definitely on the right time as well.
It's a fun Friday night movie. So look, you guys have lots of choice to keep you on the couch this week. My pick would definitely be Gravity. See what it's like on the small screen. But coming up next, it's going to be all available for you on streaming.
Welcome back to Offscreen for one last ride. And of course, there's nothing on DVD or Blu-ray this week, Bex, because, we did have a pandemic we still have a pandemic. What am I on about? We still have a pandemic. We ran out of films. Okay, we can only
start the whole Boris. We're getting rid of every restriction, so we're getting rid of DVDs as well. Come on now.
Hey, I was a good boy this morning. I sat there with a mask on in the cinema the whole time.
I had no one else in the cinema with me, so I took mine off. So I think I'm all right. I think I can get away with that.
Well, anyway, because there's nothing on DVD or Blu-ray, we're going to have to focus entirely on streaming. There is one movie. Now, I've not seen this, and I've had a screen link for it for ages, and I feel bad because I've not got around to watching it. And it looked really good. Like a sort of trashy thriller that actually you and I both kind of like. Do you remember, speaking of, we just spoke about Blake Lively in A Simple Favor. Do you remember The Shallows?
Yes.
What would you say if I told you there is a film that is basically The Shallows in the sky?
Can it happen? It can.
It's called Horizon Line, and it stars Alison Williams from Girls and Get Out, and she's the female half. She's the female half of a couple who are on a private plane ride when the pilot, I think, has a heart attack, and these two random people with a broken radio, because the radio's got to get destroyed or whatever in the ensuing heart attacky bit, have to keep this plane in the sky. They can't fly it, they can't land it, fuel's running out. What are they gonna do? All they can do is keep it on the horizon line. And that's going to be on Amazon Prime from Wednesday the 14th. So I'm looking forward to watching. This sounds like the kind of fun, gormless thriller that I absolutely love. And it does lead us nicely to another fun, gormless thriller that's dropping on Netflix next Friday. One of 3 films next Friday. And I know you'll probably have seen this one. And this was Crawl from a few years ago.
I need to refresh and see if I have seen. I mean, start describing this to me, and I'm gonna see if I'm. Oh,
Kaya Scodelario.
No, do you know what? I haven't seen this. I haven't seen it because I don't think there was a screening for it. Because I remember chasing for the screening, and they were like, "No, we're not screening this one." And I was like, "Oh, that good, is it?"
Why do they do that? I've never understood. They do that, and they always say things. I remember them doing it with me and Jigsaw, and I was like, please, I know you think it's terrible and it's going to get bad reviews, but I promise you, the one person on earth who's not going to give a Saw movie a truly terrible review is me. Even Spiral recently, I did say, it's at best, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah. But no, I haven't seen Crawl.
Yeah, Crawl was Kaya Scodelario in a flooded basement being hunted by crocodiles or alligators, I forget which, with her injured father and dog in tow. Bloody good fun, this one. I can't recommend this one. I'll just whack this on come Friday on Netflix. You'll have a blast. This is great fun.
Billy! Wait! No, wait! Stop! Stop! Wait, don't come down! Hey! Wait! There's 2 gators down here. Okay, hold on. Don't move, hold on. Come here, Pete. Need your coffee? Pete, you hear that?
Also, this is sticking with the good fun spirit, something a bit more in the vein of a tween comedy, we shall say, but tween comedy with a difference. This one comes from the House of Apatow, and it's R-rated. It's Good Boys. Did you have the pleasure of seeing Good Boys?
I did have the utmost pleasure of seeing this. This has got Jacob Tremblay in it. It's kind of. I don't know how to describe it. It's Good Boys gone bad, you know? These guys are foul-mouthed. They are tweens with, real attitude. And blimey, it makes for a funny film, doesn't it?
It does. It effectively is super bad for 12 or 13-year-old boys. And I mean, it all starts with them accidentally obtaining a bag of drugs from the sort of hot girl babysitter neighbor that they have, and a sort of drug
whole
exchange.
issue with the drone and stuff.
Yeah, that all quickly, snowballs from there.
Put the drone on the slide and count back from 100 and close your eyes. And don't try anything funny. There are witnesses.
Okay, we have a long drive ahead of us, so give us the bag or I will hurt you. Do not test me.
Threats will get you nowhere, peasant. Just give us the Molly! Okay, who's Molly? Because she's not with us.
Ah, guys, Molly is a sex drug. Dateline did an expose on it.
You had us bring drugs to a playground? There are children here!
Do you know what? It's like that's a great clip, because it's like, who's Molly? Where is she? And it's just their naivety, yet trying to be so mature by just using swear words the whole time. You're right in saying that it is like super bad for tweens. That kind of is it. I'm surprised that this didn't do better at the box office, and I'm surprised that it didn't kind of spawn at least a sequel or something from it. There's not as much chatter about this as I think it deserves.
I think it's now going where it really belongs. I think Good Boys on Netflix will turn out to be quite a highly watched thing. I think once it's on Netflix, it's going to start heavily with the associations with other Apatow films, and you will find it recommended when you queue up Superbad and things like that. And I think it's gonna find its audience very quickly. I think Jacob Tremblay is the real discovery in this, to be honest. He's a lot better at foul-mouthed comedy than I would have expected. I find Jacob Tremblay an incredibly watchable presence. Anyway, he did a really great episode of Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone with John Cho a couple of years ago that I still think is one of the best episodes of that series. And there's a great supporting cast around him, but it's just a fun film. It's not groundbreaking or anything. It's just super bad with different kids, just younger kids, and there's the obvious gag of them cursing. But it's a hard sell, I think, as a theatrical property.
Yeah, it is. But I hope, as you predict, that it does find some sort of fan base of its own on Netflix. I think it is where it deserves to be, and go and enjoy it. Go and seek it out. If you haven't seen it before, go and actively seek it out. You won't be disappointed.
If you've got a Netflix subscription, it's not going to cost you nothing.
No, exactly.
Speaking of things that are going to cost you absolutely nothing on Netflix, next Friday sees the conclusion. We will talk about this properly next week, because obviously we mentioned it briefly last week. Next week it finishes Fear Street, which from today you can see the second of these 3 movies made by Lee Janiak. The first one was Fear Street 1994. The second one that comes out today is Fear Street 1978. And then we've got next week on Friday the 16th on Netflix is Fear Street 1666. So you can sort of take this in an American Horror Story kind of way, where there's different eras telling a similar story, or you can take it as one confined trilogy of films, because the first movie despite being set in the 90s, is sort of the present day point of the series. And that story continues as a framing device for parts 2 and 3. The first one is like Stranger Things, but like 18.
Yeah.
18 rated, like a hard R-rated Stranger Things. The second one sort of foregoes the Nine Inch Nails and the Nirvana and the shopping malls and the Doc Martens and goes back to like 1978 summer camp, and it's more of an old school Friday the 13th style slasher movie that introduces Gillian Jacobs from Community into the mix in the 90s section, and also brings you like a fresh crop of like, you know, hot and sexy teens who are clearly 10 years older than the characters they're playing, being picked off one by one, you know, each time whilst in the throes of, you know, passionate, unsafe lovemaking on wooden surfaces, because it's a 1970s summer camp setting. Of course it is.
Of course.
Can't wait to see if they pull it off. I want to know, because so much of the joy of the film comes from the setting and the atmosphere and the soundtrack and things like that. A hell of a soundtrack to both the first two parts. I've not seen the third yet, but I'm wondering how well this works without that soundtrack to really keep your nostalgia buzz. Keep the blood pumping.
I'm just so excited to see this, just generally. Unfortunately, my other half is a bit of a scaredy cat with horror movies, so I have to go and watch it on my own, and that's not easy when the football's on, which is what the situation has generally been. But I will find some time for this because it sounds right up my street.
What was that? What was that Dave Bautista movie that was Die Hard at Wembley Stadium? Do you remember that one? It was a couple of years ago. Dave Bautista did Die Hard. He was at a football ground, a British football ground. It was complete crap. But you know what? You had to love the novelty of Dave Bautista is legit doing Die Hard in a football ground. But yeah. Anyway, so I think there's a good cop. Then we'll talk more about Fear Street next week when we can actually have seen the trilogy.
Yeah.
I think horror fans are going to be absolutely in their element with it. I think the second part's even better than the first, personally. I'm trepidatious about the third and final part because, like I say, so much of it is built on this period setting that I feel like taking it all the way back to where they are is going to be...
Oh, but I love a good witch trial. I know,
that's the thing, isn't it? It looks properly creepy. I can't wait. But alas, you know, that's all we have time for this week, at least.
Yeah, it is indeed. But do you know what? We're going to have big movies coming your way next week. We've got The Forever Purge, and we've got Space Jam Legacy, is it? Space Jam Legacy? I can't remember.
I think it's Space Jam A New Legacy. I'm quite disappointed in the marketing for this. It seems like a very subdued Space Jam sequel, doesn't it? Like, you know, you and I were tweens. I think we were tweens when the first one came out.
Yeah.
Like, where's my big manic displays? Where's the energy that was put into the marketing?
Where's Michael Jordan? Come on.
Well, apparently he is cameoing it. Apparently.
Oh, would he? Oh, okay, good. That'll be a good one from the nostalgia.
A Space Jam sequel produced by the director of Black Panther and directed by the guy who gave us Think Like a Man and Think Like a Man 2. What could possibly go wrong?
Could possibly go wrong? Well, listen, guys, we will take you through a rip-roaring ride of Space Jam and the Purge Forever, or whatever it's called.
Semi-permanent purge. Yeah.
Another purge, basically. So we will see you again next week. But for now, I've been Becks Perfect.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.